In almost every airplane thriller, there's a scene where someone threatens to open the door at cruising altitude. The hero has to stop them before everyone gets sucked out into the sky. It's dramatic, it's terrifying, and it's completely impossible. Not because there's a lock that stops it, not because flight attendants are watching, but because the laws of physics make it physically impossible for any human being to open that door. I mean, impossible in the literal sense. You could be the strongest person on Earth, fully motivated, with no one stopping you, and you would fail. The door would not move. This is the engineering behind why airplane doors cannot be opened in flight. And once you understand it, you'll realize how well the entire system is designed. To understand why the door won't open, you need to understand cabin pressure. At cruising altitude, commercial aircraft fly at around 35,000 to 40,000 feet. At that altitude, the air pressure outside is roughly 3.5 psi. At sea level, atmospheric pressure is about 14.7 psi. If you exposed yourself to 3.5 psi without protection, you'd lose consciousness in about 15 seconds. Your blood would effectively boil at body temperature. You'd be dead within minutes. To keep passengers alive and comfortable, the cabin is pressurized. The pressurization system maintains internal pressure equivalent to about 6,000 to 8,000 feet altitude, roughly 11 to 12 psi. This creates a pressure differential between inside and outside. At cruising altitude, the cabin pressure is pushing outward against the fuselage with a force of about 8 psi. 8 psi doesn't sound like much, but let's do the math on what that means for a door. A typical passenger door on a narrow-body aircraft like a Boeing 737 or Airbus A320 is approximately 1.8 meters tall and about 1 meter wide. That's roughly 1.8 square meters, or about 2,800 square inches. At 8 psi pressure differential, the total outward force on that door is 8 times 2,800. That's approximately 22,400 pounds, about 10,000 kilograms. 10 metric tons of force pressing that door outward against its frame. No human can push against 10 tons, not even close. The world record deadlift is around 500 kilograms. You'd need 20 of the world's strongest humans pushing together to equal the force that cabin pressure is already applying to that door. And here's the crucial part. You can't add your force to the pressure's force. The pressure is pushing the door outward. To open the door, you'd have to push harder than the pressure is pushing. You'd have to overcome those 10 tons first. This is why the door won't open. It's not a lock. It's not a safety mechanism. It's pure physics. The pressure differential creates a force that no human can overcome. But this raises an interesting question. If the pressure is pushing the door outward, why doesn't the door just blow out? The answer is in the door design. Most commercial aircraft use what are called plug doors. A plug door is larger than its frame opening. It's designed to be moved inward first, then rotated or slid out of the frame. The door literally plugs the hole from the inside. When the cabin is pressurized, that outward pressure pushes the door harder against its frame. The higher the pressure differential, the more tightly the door seals. Pressure becomes your ally, not your enemy. This is elegant engineering. The very force that seems like it should push the door out is actually what holds it in place. The door cannot blow out because it's larger than the hole, and you cannot pull it in because you can't overcome the pressure pushing it out. Some aircraft use outward opening doors. These are more complex because they have to work against the pressure differential rather than with it. They require robust latching mechanisms and are typically found on larger aircraft where door geometry makes plug doors impractical. But even outward opening doors are designed with multiple redundant locks that cannot be released while the cabin is pressurized. The handle might move, but the actual latches won't disengage until pressure has equalized. Let me walk through what actually happens if someone tries to open a door mid-flight. First, they approach the door and grab the handle. On most aircraft, the handle is designed to require a specific motion, typically lifting and then rotating or pulling. This isn't to prevent determined attackers, it's to prevent accidental activation. When they try to move the handle, they'll find resistance. Not from a lock, but from the force required to even begin moving the door mechanism. On a plug door, the handle operates linkages that would need to pull the door inward against the pressure differential. That force resistance is immediate and insurmountable. They might manage to partially move the handle, but the door itself won't budge. The pressure is holding it in place with thousands of kilograms of force. Their muscles are producing maybe 50 kilograms of force if they're strong. It's not even close. On aircraft with outward opening doors, the latching system is designed so that the latches physically cannot disengage while significant pressure differential exists. The handle might move through its motion, but nothing happens because the actual locks are mechanically blocked. In either case, the door stays closed. The person fails. Physics wins. This has been demonstrated repeatedly in real incidents. There have been many cases of intoxicated, mentally disturbed, or malicious passengers attempting to open doors mid-flight. In every single case, they failed, not because crew members stopped them in time, but because the door physically could not be opened. The crew intervenes anyway because having someone aggressively attacking a door is disruptive and frightening to other passengers. But even if no one intervened, the outcome would be the same. The door stays closed. You might wonder what would happen at lower altitudes, where the pressure differential is smaller. As an aircraft descends for landing, cabin pressure gradually equalizes with outside pressure. By the time the aircraft is at a few thousand feet, the differential might be only 2 or 3 psi. At touchdown, it's essentially zero. At 2 psi differential, a typical door still experiences about 5,000 to 6,000 pounds of force. That's still 2 to 3 tons, still impossible for a human to overcome. Only when pressure is nearly equalized, which happens just before or at landing, can the doors actually be opened. That's why doors are armed for takeoff and landing, and why flight attendants verify door status at these phases. When pressure is equalized, the doors can physically be opened, and you need procedural controls to prevent accidental deployment. Those emergency slides you see inflating when things go wrong, they can only deploy when the door opens, and the door can only open when the pressure allows. The system is fundamentally safe because physics prevents the dangerous scenario. Let's address the movie scenes directly. You've seen the hero clinging to something while everything loose gets sucked out the opening. You've seen explosive decompression ripping the aircraft apart. There's a kernel of truth here, but it's wildly exaggerated. If a door somehow did open at altitude, yes, the pressure would equalize rapidly. Air would rush out. Loose objects near the opening would be carried out by the airflow. Anyone not secured might be pulled toward the opening, but the explosive part is overstated for most scenarios. The cabin would depressurize over several seconds, not instantaneously. Oxygen masks would deploy. The pilots would initiate an emergency descent. The structural damage would depend on how the opening occurred. But the fuselage is designed to handle decompression events. The biggest danger isn't being sucked out. It's hypoxia. At 40,000 feet, you have about 15 seconds of useful consciousness without supplemental oxygen. If you're not near a mask, you'll pass out before you can do much of anything. Aircraft have experienced partial decompression events, whether from door failures, window blowouts, or fuselage damage. In most cases, the aircraft landed safely. People did not get sucked out through small openings. The physics of airflow through restricted openings isn't as dramatic as movies portray. The real engineering achievement isn't just that doors don't open. It's that the entire system is designed with layers of protection. First, the physical design makes opening impossible at altitude. The pressure differential is the primary safety mechanism. Second, even if a door could somehow move, the latching systems have multiple redundant locks. Breaking one lock doesn't release the door. Third, crew procedures require verification of door status at critical phases. Armed and cross-check announcements ensure that multiple people confirm proper configuration. Fourth, cockpit indicators tell pilots if any door is not properly secured. They won't take off if there's a door warning. Fifth, maintenance procedures require regular inspection of door mechanisms, seals, and latches. Worn components are replaced before they can fail. This defense in depth means that multiple independent failures would need to occur simultaneously for a door to open in flight. Each layer catches what the previous layer might miss. There have been incidents where doors have come open in flight. They're extremely rare, and they typically involve mechanical failure during the transition phase when the aircraft is at low altitude and low speed, and the pressure differential is minimal. The most famous modern example is the Alaska Airlines door plug incident in 2024, where a plug panel that had been improperly secured came out during climb at around 16,000 feet. The aircraft had not yet reached cruise altitude, so pressure differential was lower than it would have been at 40,000 feet. The aircraft landed safely. No one was killed, partly because the seats near the opening happened to be unoccupied. That incident wasn't about someone trying to open a door. It was about maintenance errors on a panel that wasn't a normal exit. And it happened precisely because the aircraft was still climbing, not at cruise altitude where the physics make such events even less likely. So to answer the original question, you cannot open an airplane door mid-flight because physics makes it impossible. The pressure differential creates a force measured in tons. No human strength can overcome it. The door design uses that pressure to seal more tightly, not less. And even if you could somehow overcome the pressure, multiple mechanical locks would still hold the door in place. Next time you see a movie where someone threatens to open the door at altitude, you'll know that's not drama, that's fiction. The real danger would be someone disrupting the pilots, not opening an exit. The doors are fine. Physics is on your side. There's actually a related engineering feature that passengers often misunderstand, those overwing exits that you're briefed on for emergencies. They look like they could open easily, but they have their own clever design that prevents accidental operation. I've explained how they work in another video.